Hello everyone, we are back again. Good to be back to you again. I hope you've been enjoying the lectures all this while. Research is something that every student will have to know about because as a student you must have to do your research, you must have to do your project. So it's something we must have to know about. Okay, last class we stopped, we didn't finish this particular topic. We're to continue from components of a research proposal. Okay, let's go. Although there is no one generally acceptable standard on what goes into a research proposal, the following are considered as critical to any good proposal. There is no generally acceptable standard on how you go about your proposal, but these are critical ones. These are the things that you definitely have to apply in every project work you're doing. The first thing is the project topic. The project topic. Project topic, the topic you're going to work on. When you have a baby, you have to give your baby a name. When you call the name, that is the name your baby knows as his name, and that is the name you will answer. So if you're running a project, even if it's a pet you give your pet a name. So your project must have a topic. You choose the topic for your project. The second one is background to the study. Background to the study. Let's look at it. Background. Background to the study. The study what you're working on has a background. You look at, that's where the literature review comes in. You look at the background, things you know about that particular topic, and things that you need to know too. The third is statement of the problem. Statements of the problem. Remember, when you're doing a research study, there is a problem you intend to solve. There is a problem on ground that you intend to solve. The results of your project work, the conclusion, the results of your project has to bring a solution to a particular problem. So you state the problem. 4 is objectives of the study. Objectives of the study. Objectives of the study. You have objectives. Whatever you're doing, there has to be objectives to what you have to do. What do you have in mind to achieve? The 5th one is significance of the study. Of what significance is it? Significance of the study. If it has no significance, then it's useless doing the study. So there has to be a significance of the study you're working on or you're doing. The 6th one is scope or limitation of the study. It has to have a scope. Scope. Scope or limitation of the study. how broad it is, how wide is it, the limit, how the study, what you're working on. There has to have be a scope, kind of where the boundaries, so to say. Then the seventh one is research, design, or method. Research, design, or method. Research, design, or method. That's your methodology, how you intend to go about the work. What are the stages? What are the things you need to carry out? How do you intend to go about it? That's the design or the method you want to use. The next is population sample and sampling procedure. Population sample or sample procedure. How do you intend to go about your sampling? If you're using a questionnaire, the population, the people you're going to distribute your questionnaire to, you don't just go to any and anybody. There are specific people you need to distribute the questionnaire to, people that will give you the proper answers. And if it's a scientific work you're doing, the particular areas you need to go to pick your samples, the samples you're going to use to work in the lab, to do your experiments in the lab. That is the sampling procedure. How do you intend to go about it? Is it from community to community? Is it from hospital to hospital? Is it from school to school? How do you intend to go about getting your sample? Then you have the ninth one, data analysis procedure. Data analysis procedure. Data analysis procedure. Analyzing your data. When you get your samples, you work on them, you have your data that you're going to use to get your results. So you begin to analyze the data you have. It's from your analysis you'll be able to get your results and your conclusion and the rest. Now, by the time the student had written on the above subheadings, he would have formed a convincing idea of what he intends doing and how he intends going about it. What he intends doing and how he intends going about it. At this point in time, he will be able to reconcile his project topic with his objectives. Remember your objectives, what you intend to achieve from the study or what you're carrying out. So he will be able to reconcile the topic with his objectives. The two of them have to blend. And the methodology to be employed, the method he's going to use to do the work. The exercise would have helped him to understand the possible contributions of his work to knowledge in the chosen area. So this exercise is going to help him. You know, every work, like we said, has to contribute to knowledge. So by the time he does all this, getting his topic, his objectives and everything, it will help you to understand more the contributions he can give to the knowledge in that area. It will also help to reveal certain shortcomings that may attend to the conduct of the investigation as being proposal. Definitely it's normal to have shortcomings. This is because the discussions under each of the subheadings above brings the student researcher closer to a better understanding and of course fuller grasp of the critical and central issues involved in the research work. Hence, the desirability on the one hand and the justification on the other of the project proposal in any given situation. So doing all this will help him to understand the whole thing much better. Getting to know the shortcomings and everything, it will help him to understand the idea, the whole idea about all the whole work he wants to do. It will help him to understand it better. Let's look at these references. We have INA, LO. That is the reference we have for here. Now we quickly go into topic 4. Topic 4. Having gone through all this, project topic, background to the study, statement of the problem, objectives, significance of the study, scope or limitation of the study, research design method, population sampling, and then data analysis. We go into writing the project proper. The first thing we have to do is the introduction. You have to introduce your topic. Tell us what you want to do. Tell us something about it. Introduction. Introduction is always the first thing. When you want to tell somebody about somebody else, you do an introduction. Even in marriages, you do introduction. So introduction is always the initial thing. So you start the research, you start your project proper with introduction. After necessary amendments of the research proposal by the supervisor, remember you have to send your proposal to your supervisor. He looks at it, makes the corrections he needs to do, and then confirms it okay. So after necessary amendments of the research proposal by the supervisor, it is expected that the work be certified fit for conduct. So your supervisor has to certify it fit for conduct before you take the next step. It is at this point that the supervisor asks the student researcher to commence the full-blown project writing, starting with the opening chapter. It is important to state here that a typical research project at this level consists mainly of 5 chapters as contained in the following outline. Okay, we have the 5 chapters. After your supervisor has approved your work, you're now okay, you're good to go ahead and write your projects. You take the chapters. The first one, like we said, the first chapter is the introduction. Chapter 2, review of related literature. Chapter 3, that's the literature review. Review of related literature. Literature review. The literature that says so much about the work you're doing. That's the background literature. Then chapter 3, research methodology. Talking about the methods you intend to use for the work. The different methods you will use to carry out the work. Chapter 4, data analysis, interpretation, and discussion. When you get with your methods, you get your data, you begin to analyze your data. You analyze the data, interpret. You get your results, you interpret the results, and then you discuss it. After that, you move to chapter 5, the summary of findings, all your results, all the results you have gotten, the summary, you summarize it, and then you conclusions. After your conclusions, you do your recommendation. Your recommendation is based on your findings, is based on your conclusions. So this is what we have, five main chapters of your project. Introduction, literature review, methodology, data analysis and interpretation, discussion, and then the summary of findings. Okay, let's look at them. Introduction. Five main chapters of the project. First is introduction. Alright, let's take it one after the other. We go to the introduction. Okay, let's go through this. However, the project supervisor does not require that you write the entire 5 chapters as a single go. So that's not possible. If you do that, then you're not doing a research project. You're just simply doing copy and paste, as that would have defeated the very essence and spirit of project writing. Instead, he requests that you write and submit the introductory chapter, which is chapter 1. If you are lucky to have a considerate supervisor, and depending on his research orientation too, he gives you an outline of what constitutes each chapter. The outline of chapter 1 may include all or some of the following. Okay, depending on the supervisor you have. It's not that other supervisors are not considerate. Probably they just want you to do the work and get soaked in it. He does not require you to write all the 5 chapters at a single go. You write your introduction, you take to him. He looks at what you've written, he makes his corrections, directs you properly, and then you go back and write the second one, your literature review. So it's a stage by stage thing. It's not something you just pack up, copy it from somewhere and then you submit to him. No, it's not just an ordinary assignment. It's a research, something you're doing to get results that will add to knowledge. Remember, I always tell you that whatever you're doing it to add to existing knowledge. So you don't write the 5 chapters as a go, you write them one after the other. So you write and submit the introductory chapter, that is chapter 1. Some supervisors, yes, are considerate, and they will direct you, they will give you an outline of what you should do. The others, like I said, is not that they are not considerate. They want you to do that work and do it very well. And they want you to be able to be independent. Do it, help yourself, and be able to stand strong. So that whenever you're defending your thesis, you will be sure of what you are doing. Depending on his research orientation too. I once fell into the hands of a supervisor who really didn't know much about the topic I was doing. It was the same department, but he was on a different area, a different section of the department. So he didn't really know so much about my project topic. I had to lean on another supervisor. In fact, I was more like supervising myself, taking directions from somebody else and trying to do everything on my own. It was really a big challenge, and I'm glad I had such a challenge. It's good to have challenges at times. When you come out strong, you will understand better. So he gives an outline. If your supervisor, like I said, okay, this considerate, I choose to put it on quotes. It's considerate on quotes. He gives you an outline of what constitutes each chapter. That's making the work a lot easier for you. The outline of chapter 1 may include all or some of the following, namely the background to the study, statements of the problem, research questions, objectives or purpose of the study. Okay, background, or getting to know something about the study you're going on. Statement of the problem, we've talked about that. State the problem. Research questions, certain questions that will need, that the answers will help you to get your results. When you ask the questions, like in your questionnaire, you ask the questions, the answers to those questions will lead you to getting the results. Objectives, that's the purpose of your study. What is the purpose of the study you're doing? Or what are your objectives? What do you stand to achieve? Research hypothesis, yes, there has to be a research hypothesis. Significance of the study, of what significance, of what use is it to the community, to the public, scope and limitation of the study, operational definition of terms. So if your supervisor gives you all this, it makes the work a lot easier for you. That's also good. Nobody likes to suffer. So as can be seen above, the outline forms a great part of the research proposal, and the student researcher only needs to flesh up, unquote, the approved proposal in order to make it up as is chapter 1. Flesh up, that is adding. This is a kind of skeleton, and then you're adding more to what you have been given. It's a kind of direction to you. You do the work of fleshing it up, that's adding what is required to it. It is expected that all the other components as had been written for the proposal would still stand, with the operational definitions of terms added to it. Now, it is important to know and understand what is contained in each of the subheadings in the chapter, and these are explained below. So we are going to take it one after the other. Like I told you, we don't need to rush this. We'll take it gradually for you to have a better understanding of it, because it's something you're going to do on your own. Whatever course you're doing, there has to be a research project on it. So you need to have a good understanding of what you're doing before you can go into it. So we take the background to the study. As its name implies, this aspect traces the history of the subject of investigation. It traces the history, what it is all about, how did it come up, how did it come about. The emergence of the problem, how did the problem emerge, that is asking for a solution. How he became interested in the problem, because you must have an interest in something. Oh, these things that have been going this way, let me do a research on it so that I'll be able to solve this particular problem. Your interest has to be there. Very important. You have to be interested in the problem before you can go about it if you really want to succeed. So he goes on to explain the particular circumstances surrounding the problem, using evidences from the literature to back up various contentions. You see why you need a very sound literature review. Here also, he tries to establish the desirability and feasibility of the study, judging from the ample evidences drawn from the literature. The literature review has to be very, very solid. In short, this is where the student researcher introduces the subject of his investigation, using all available facts and figures to establish his foundation. Note that though there is no standard number of pages that this should take, the lengthier and well-focused the background to the study, the better for a strong and solid foundation for that research being conducted. So in as much as there is no standard number of pages, oh, it must be this number of pages, it must be that number of pages, you still have to get enough. You have to get enough to be able to get the background of the study. Alright, we move over to the next one. The first one is the background of the study. Under introduction, okay, we have the background. Okay, let's call it A. Background. Then the next one is statement of the problem. B. Statement of the problem. The problem statement, as it is also called is the logical conclusion of the issues raised under the background to the study. When you're doing the background, there are certain issues that will be raised there. So that is where you call out your problem statement. The idea is that while the background to the study provides a broader or global perspective to the subject matter of the investigation, the problem statement makes derivations from there and zero in on the specifics as they relate to the particular investigation at hand. So the background gives you a broader view, and then the statement of the problem kind of filters it. It goes to specifics coming out from the whole background. That is why the problem statement is expected to flow quite logically from the background to the study. It's taken out from the background to the study. And it is not a good problem statement, one that fails in this. So your problem statement has to come out, to be filtered out from your background for it to be a good one. Since they are not supposed to be two separate entities, no, they are not, as it were. It is, however, different from background to the study in that it must be stated quite briefly and very clearly, just straight to the point. All the illustrative components of the background to the study would have served to enable one go straight for the specifics under the problem statement. So the background to the study comes first, and then the statement comes out of it. This is why experienced supervisors would insist that the problem statement should be in the range of 1 to 3 paragraphs only. 1 to 3 paragraphs, not much. The belief is that the shorter the clearer, of course. The shorter the clearer. No need of writing long stories. Brief and to the point. So the belief is that the shorter the clearer. And the clearer the better for the entire investigation process. In short, one cannot overemphasize the need to state the problem very clearly and precisely. It has to be very, very clear and precise. Like I said, you don't have to go into long stories, since the whole process of investigation depends on it. It is something that once you look at it, you already understand what the statement is talking about. Okay, Duro Tolu 2001 puts it succinctly when he remarked that if the problem is not well defined or stated, the researcher may be working on the wrong issues. You need to define the problem very well. If it's not well defined or stated, the researcher may be working on the wrong issues even without knowing it, I must add. He may be working on the wrong issues without knowing he's actually working on the wrong issues. So it has to be well defined. He may be working on the wrong issues, may design, develop and use inappropriate samples and instruments, and may even engage himself in studying an inconsequential issue. That can be very frustrating. Thinking you're doing the right thing only to find out that, what you've been doing is a waste of time. So you need to really define your problem very well, state it very well, and work according to that definition, according to the problem, the problem you have stated, not just jumping from one angle to the other. Working on the wrong issues, using the wrong design and everything, and at the end of the day, you have to start afresh. That would be too bad. He advised that the language here should be definite and quantifiable. Since once this is done, the type of research, the approach and procedures to use are often a matter of simple, logical deductions. Project work is not supposed to be something that is hectic. It's not supposed to be something that will take so much strength from you. If you give it the right approach, it will not take too much from you. In fact, it will be something you do and enjoy doing. That is why, remember we said the topic must be something of interest to you, so that as you do it, you enjoy what you're doing. No matter the kind of work involved, you will really enjoy what you're doing. Okay, thus there is no doubt that an adequate statement of the research problem Thus, there is no doubt that an adequate statement of the research problem is the most important part of a research process. Most important, yes. Because like we said, if you state wrongly, you will be going the wrong way, even without knowing you're going the wrong way. But when you state it right, you follow that right path, and then you get every other thing all right. It's just like going down a staircase. You miss the first step. When you miss the first step, the one or two steps, you find yourself tumbling down the staircase. But when you get this first step right, second step right, every other one follows through. Once you miss that first step, before you know it, you've tumbled and you've landed down. So the first one has to be properly done. There is no doubt that an adequate statement of the research problem is the most important part of a research process. The simple reason for this assertion is that the entire process of investigation hinges on it, and it is usually related to some of the following, namely, a missing link, an imbalance, a need, an unsatisfactory state of affairs, an unanswered question. Thus, the problem statement gives direction to the rest of the project. It's like a light shining to show you the rest of the tunnel. Thus, the problem statement gives direction to the rest of the project, indicating and highlighting the main variables of interest to the researcher, as well as a specific relationship between them. Okay. We go to the next one: research questions and/or hypothesis. Usually, these come immediately after the problem statement. Okay, we've written the statement of the problem. Let's write research questions or hypothesis. Research questions and/or hypothesis. Usually, these come immediately after the problem statement because of their strong relationship. They have a strong relationship. Research questions are a form or elaboration, that is extension of the problem statement, making it wider. It extends the problem statement. They do not only seek to convert the declarative statement of the problem into interrogative form, but further break down the main issues compressed in the problem statement. As its name implies, research questions come in the form of interrogations seeking to establish definite relations among the key variables of investigation. So it goes further to explain things, kind of breaking down the problem statement, breaks it down further. Besides, the research questions normally serve as the basis from where the questionnaire items or questions would eventually be derived. Like I said, it breaks down the problem statement. The questions you place in your questionnaires and send out for people to fill for you. The difference between the two is that the questionnaire items give a further breakdown of each of the research questions to to a greater detail. This is to the extent that a single research question can produce the range of between 3 to 5 questionnaire items or questions. Yes. Whereas the research questions are broad in nature, the questionnaire items are usually directed towards the specifics, thereby getting down to more details. That is really breaking it down. Research questions are broader, but when it comes to questionnaire, it breaks it down to the least, giving more details, and that will give a better result, because the more details you have in the questions, the better the results, the answers you're going to get for those questions, and then it will give you a better result. As for the hypothesis, they are not the same as research questions. We've talked about this before. Hypotheses are different from research questions. Research questions are the questions you ask in the course of the study, even though they sometimes substitute each other. In other words, it is not uncommon to find projects which have both as well as others which have only one of them. It's not uncommon to have projects which have both of them as well as others which have only one of them. Okay, they can substitute each other, but that doesn't mean they are the same. Because they are not the same, they are not expected to duplicate each other. They can substitute, but they cannot duplicate each other. If they stand to do that, then one should be retained and the other disposed of. By this token, one can easily understand that it is not compulsory that a project should have both, especially at the elementary level, where in most cases the research questions would be enough. Yes, at times the research questions are just enough. You don't need the hypothesis to go ahead with the work. By definition, a research hypothesis is a clear, definite statement whose authenticity and workability can be subjected to test through a scientific method. If you remember, we've talked about this before, I think in the first or second lecture, where we compared hypothesis to research questions. The hypothesis is a clear and definite statement. The authenticity of it depends on what you have gotten at the end of your research. The results you get, your conclusions, that is what will authenticate your hypothesis. But by that time, it ceases to be a hypothesis. But research questions are the questions you get to ask in the course of running the research program, the research project you're doing. As a declarative statement of prediction, it seeks to establish the relationship or difference which exists between one variable and the other or others, and to what extent. It is a kind of intelligent guess or assumption. Yes, hypothesis is a kind of guesswork. By the time you finish your project, by the time you finish your work, it will no longer be a guess. At that time, it is no longer a hypothesis. So another name for hypothesis actually is guesswork. It's a kind of intelligent, but an intelligent one, not just anyhow guessing. It's an intelligent guess or assumption, usually derived from the outcomes of previous research and or theories emanating from the literature. So it's a guesswork from previous research done. By the time you're done doing your own research and you've added to the existing knowledge, it ceases to be a guesswork. Hypotheses are formulated on the basis of any of the following areas of objectives. They are formulated on the basis of any of the following areas. 1. To simply describe a phenomenon or a statement of facts. 2. To compare two or more concepts, people, and places. 3. To show the relationship between variables. And 4. To show a cause or effect situation between variables. Okay, now Generally, there are two types of hypotheses, simply referring to the way they are stated. These are the null and the alternative. Take note of that. We have the null hypothesis and we have the alternative hypothesis. We have the null Okay, we have the null and the alternative. Whereas the former is usually stated in the negative form of no significant relationship or no significant difference, etc. The latter takes the positive form of statements such as there is a significant relationship, there is a significant difference. The null takes the negative form and the alternative takes the positive form. Let's take that. The null Okay. So, whereas the former, that's the null, is usually stated in the negative form of no significant relationship or no significant difference, the latter, that's the alternative, takes the positive form of statement, such as there is a significant relationship, there is a significant difference. Okay, the research hypothesis set out the basic issues relating to the data to be gathered in the course of carrying out the research. They serve as a theoretical conceptualization of what and how the researcher anticipated in terms of his research outcome. They assist him to test and verify his ideas, on the basis of which he makes very concrete and dependable conclusions and generalizations. They also help him to sharpen his focus on the research problem with a view to determining the direction where to find the solution. Alright, thus some of these qualities of a good hypothesis are, as contained in Duro Tolu 2001, include the following. Qualities of a good hypothesis. It should be reasonable. That is intelligent guesses. Okay? Qualities, should be single T. Qualities of a good hypothesis. It should be reasonable. Remember, we said is an intelligent guess, not a just ordinary guess. It should be reasonable. Okay, let me put in brackets intelligent guess. Intelligent guess. That adjective is very important. 2. It should be consistent with known facts or theories. It should be consistent with known facts or theories. The third one, it should be stated in such a way that it is testable and found to be probably true or false. It should be testable and found to be probably true or false. Should be testable. Okay. Number 4, it should be in very simple, unambiguous terms. Oh yes, very, very simple and unambiguous terms. Very simple terms. Five, it should be directly related to the problem of investigation. Should be directly related to the problem. Then 6, it should involve very few variables at a time. Very few variables at a time. Remember, we said it shouldn't be ambiguous. It should have very few variables at a time. And then the last one, it should be quantifiable. That is operationally formulated. It should be quantifiable. Should be quantifiable. So these are the qualities of a good hypothesis. Let's take it again. It should be reasonable and intelligent guess. It should be consistent with known facts or theories. Consistent with known facts. 3, it should be stated in such a way that it is testable. So it is something that is testable, because we're going to run tests on it. It's something that is testable and found to be probably true, either true or false. It should be in very simple, unambiguous terms. Very simple terms. It should be directly related to the problem of investigation. Your hypothesis should be directly related to the problem you're investigating. And then it should involve very few variables. Very few variables at a time. Then the last one, it should be quantifiable. Alright, so like I said, we are taking this gradually. The next class, we are going to look at the objectives or purpose of the study. Objectives or purpose of the study. That is what we are going to continue the next class. Thank you so much once again. I wish you a very positive and great day. Bye.